Old School Lane Casual Chats is brought to you by oldschoollane.blogspot.com and is associated with Channel Frederator, Manic Expression, the Comic Book Cast, and the Arun Mehta Show.
Happy anniversary, baby. Got you on my mind. Happy anniversary, baby. Got you on my mind.
Hello everyone! Welcome to a very special episode of Casual Chats. It has been 5 years since I posted up the very first episode of Casual Chats, November 14th, 2012. And now it is November 14th, 2017, the day I'm going to be posting this. And I am surrounded by some of my followers who have been listening to my work or watching my work for quite a while, or maybe even just recently. So let's introduce them. So, Pocketbook, aka Norbert or Simeon, so welcome.
Hi!
I'm
so excited.
We have Celeste, aka Cell Rock, so welcome.
Hi!
We have Ian Coyne, welcome Ian.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
We have Jordan Hayes, welcome Jordan.
Hi, yes, welcome. It's been an honor. Thank you for having me on.
We have Cameron Biggs, welcome Cameron.
Hi, it's so great to be here.
And we have Nick Nagel, who was one of my contest winners for when I hit 1,000 subscribers. So, welcome, Nick.
Hey, y'all.
And hopefully DJ can join in soon so we can have 9 people in here.
Hopefully. And finally, last but not least, he has been in a few episodes of Mike Gem's podcast and other discussion videos. So we have Travis. So welcome, Travis.
Hello, and welcome, everybody.
All right, so, and as usual, I'm just going to bring out some basic questions and, discussing about, like, my years doing casual chats or any of my work. So, yeah, please let me know, what was the very first thing that you listened to of my work, whether it be casual chats or anything else that I've done. So, we'll start off round table. So, Pocketbook, why don't we start with you? How did you first get introduced to me?
The very first video, I'm talking. The first thing that I ever saw from you was the Nick Slimecast podcast. It was the one where you were talking about the 2016 Nick Upfront. I saw Blame It on George's Top 40 Lost Your Band episodes of kids shows, and I know you played from the Nick Slimecast podcast there. That was before I even knew that was you. When I went back to watch that, I was like, oh, it was her. But anyway, Nick Slimecast podcast was really where I first got into you. And by the way, Patricia, you're going to hate me for saying this. Please don't kill me for this. But when I first heard your voice, I, no kidding, thought you were like a 9 or 10-year-old boy. Listen, do you know how like some female voice actresses like Tara Strong or Cass Susie or E.G. Daly can always voice like a boy? Well, that's how I thought that was you. Well, it took me listening later that I found out that was you. A little bit later, I found the Old School Lane channel that was like on the related channels, and I really started getting into you because you were talking about Nickelodeon stuff, and I'm a huge Nickelodeon enthusiast. So I started getting into your channel from that because you were talking about a lot of stuff that I liked. I thought that I would like you, and it wasn't long after I subscribed.
Yeah, that's great. It's a funny story about the Blame It on Jorge thing. So, not too long after he uploaded that top 40 lost videos.
Or band episodes of kids shows.
Yeah, something like that, whatever it was. But my cousin and her boyfriend at the time approached me and said, hey, guess what? You're famous. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then she showed me that video and all the views and subscribers he has. And I'm like, oh my God, that explains why there's so many people on the podcast now who have been subscribing. So I've never seen any of his videos, but I do give him credit that he was able to, connect some more people to check out more of what Nick Slimecast podcast was offering at the time, like Nick Smissel or Nick at 35 or Nick Debates. Okay, so Celeste, why don't we start off with you? So how did you get introduced to my work?
So, it happened around this time last year. I was actually looking for something having to do with All Real Monsters. I think, I know what it was. I wanted to watch the first episode because I'd missed it the night before on Nick's Splat, and I ran across, one of your Nick Smissel things came up. I don't remember quite which one now, but I checked it out. And I happened to go into your channel and I saw all these things, casual chats, other things. I then checked out, some of your casual chats episodes. The first one being episode 35, where you interviewed Paul Germain and then one of the other.
Joe and Sullivan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So and then I just happened to check out more of your stuff. I checked out more casual chats episodes, more interviews, more other sort of like roundtable discussions, and now, thanks to you, I've been introduced to the Friday Night Nicktoons podcast with Ashley and Casey. I check that out every week. They make my Friday nights great. Kind of sorry they couldn't join us today. I would have said thank you. And of course I'm checking out We're in Between and really gotten into, as told by Ginger, I can't believe we're up to the end of season 2. And
yeah, I know. We're going to be starting season 3 this coming Tuesday, and Casey is currently fixing up the intro for it right now. Casey's the one who does the intro. Ashley was the one who did the logo, and I'm the one who does the editing. So
it's a collaborative effort.
And I'll admit, Patricia, for the longest time I thought, wow, she does this professionally, because another podcast, I listen to other podcasts too, but before I knew of yours, I knew of the Nick Animation podcast, and I thought, oh, look, another Hector Navarre, female version who talks to all these, people who worked for Nickelodeon, until I saw your video. I think you did it at your birthday, and it had you, and then you pretending to be your conscience or something.
Yes, that's Should We Say Goodbye to Halcyon Days?
One of my favorites.
And then I saw the behind-the-scenes look that you did a year later. I'm like, okay, I get it now. She just does this for fun, but, I would have never guessed that this was just a hobby. I actually thought you actually did this professionally, given all the people you've spoken to and whatnot, And the fact that you live in Florida, because, of course, as you know, there used to be Nickelodeon, this was taped in front of a live audience.
I live 4 hours away from Orlando, and they no longer have the studios, unfortunately. But
yeah, I know that, but I just found it so funny.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it, Celeste. Funny about that Nick Smissel 3 episode about All-Real Monsters. So the story was that originally we were trying to do an episode of Nick Smissel 4 about cartoons, but because pretty much everybody was gone from the podcast and they all moved on to do different things, James and we had no other choice but to kind of like subsidize it. We just basically did like a best of edition, combining all 3 Nick Smissels and putting it into one, doing the rejected shows, the rejected TV movies, and the rejected spin-offs that eventually went off to other networks. So yeah, Our Real Monsters is definitely one of the more infamous ones, and I spoke to Peter Gaffney about that. He was one of the co-creators, and he was saying like even though he had nothing to do with it, that was after his time. There were plans on it, but unfortunately, they was too scary for kids. So yeah, but yeah, that's awesome that a lot of people were first introduced to my work with Nick Smissel. Anyway, so Jordan, how did you first get introduced to my work?
Yes, well, I think this was about 2, maybe 3. No, it had to have been 2 years ago. And I was trying to look for something Nickelodeon related. I had this spark that I wanted to get back into the old 90s, early 2000s Nickelodeon shows that I watched as a kid. And I came across this interesting interview with the creator of Doug, Jim Jenkins. And then I also found this podcast, this really innovative podcast or interview with, I guess, your panel about the All That TV show, which I was a big fan of. I didn't really know who you were at the time being, but what caught my ear was, or not 2 things. One, all this interesting commentary that people were talking about their love for old school and later current Nickelodeon shows, and B, the interesting insight, the behind-the-scenes stuff that I didn't know at the time, but when I heard it, I said, light bulb went on. Oh, that's what happened. That's what made this show very interesting. So I was able to further delve into your other channels, your other areas. For example, the Nick at 35. I loved the Nick at 35, highlighting all of the shows, all the programming that happened there over the years in the Nickelodeon, especially during the 90s and the 2000s. And I found all this commentary very interesting. There are some points where I may tend to agree or disagree, but that's just a difference in opinion. But nevertheless, as a fellow Nickelodeon fan, I thank you for providing the commentary, the insights, the analysis, and the interviews that you do with various creators and people who worked on the shows that I grew up with as a kid. It's very, very interesting. Once again, I thank you for what you have been able to produce thus far, and what you are able to produce from going on in.
Well, I really do appreciate that, absolutely. And I was just starting off as somebody who was just a fan of the programs, and, back then, information about these shows were pretty limited, so I wanted to dive more in depth into it, because I'm a history buff, and with my dedication to learning more about Nickelodeon. Originally the Nickelodeon tribute was supposed to be for the summer. I was just only supposed to do it for 3 months, and then I would have moved on to do something else. But then it just got delayed, and it just became this overwhelming project that I needed to just dedicate a lot more time to. And then eventually I was just so burned out that I canceled the original tribute a few years ago, and then I just decided to do it on videos. So I'm really glad that you were able to like all the stuff that I do, and all the people. The interviewing part was actually Kevin's idea. Kevin is the co-founder of Old School Lane, and he's been in a few podcasts in the past, and most recently he was on that We're in Between update when we were discussing about that the storyboard artist of As Told by Ginger were going to be on. Anyway, so he was saying about, hey, we should have people interviewed on the podcast, on our blog, to see if anybody will be interested. And I was like, nobody will ever contact us. They'll think that we're just a bunch of jokesters. We're not professional journalists. We're not part of a magazine or a website or in the news. They'll never ever call us. Lo and behold, when I got a hold of Mark Summers, and he said, yeah, just get a hold of my agent and we'll schedule something. And I'm like, oh my God, he's being serious. And so, long story short, it just pretty much grew from there. We got a hold of a lot of people. Some of them rejected, others they accepted, and yeah, it's just been crazy about how far we've come since then.
You have inspired me to create my own podcast, which I only have 2 episodes of, but if you want to check it out, it's the Nicospective podcast on my YouTube channel, which is just Jay Hayes, and I'm thinking of lining up for at least one potential guest. I don't have anybody yet, but I would love to, for example, get somebody who either worked on Dan Schneider's shows or Dan himself, but I think that may be a stretch.
Well, I wish you the best of luck on that. So, Cameron, I'd love to know from you, how did you first get introduced to my work?
Coincidentally, it's pretty much almost the exact same reason as Celeste said before. I was like into All Real Monsters for a little bit, because I kind of just recently got into it for the first time. Like, you ever heard of like some of those shows that you have heard about but you never bother watching it?
Sure.
It's pretty much like that. So yeah, I was like looking up like stuff about the show, and then I came across your video on and it was about the Monsters movie.
Yeah, the Horror Monsters movie, yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting that they would have that they were actually planning a feature film.
Yeah.
And the fact that they actually turned it down because they said it was quote unquote too scary, I find it a little hypocritical that Klasky Csupo would also make a movie about babies wandering around the forest.
I guess, if you take a look at the surface, it's like, oh, you have these monsters scaring people and they live in a dump. It's like, oh, they're scaring people, and we don't want to give kids nightmares. I guess it made sense because probably it would have came out like a few years after Nightmare Before Christmas, and back then that movie was considered very taboo because, it's going to give kids nightmares. It's about monsters or whatever. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe that was one of the main reasons why. But I guess another thing was that All Real Monsters was not one of their more profitable shows, so maybe they thought that maybe it wouldn't have gained a massive audience compared to something like Rugrats. I mean, that's just my personal thought. I mean, I think I even mentioned that on the podcast about, the risks it would have been if they would have made an All Real Monsters movie.
Well, now that you say it like that, I think it does make a little bit more sense. Besides, I think it's just better off that it just stays the way as it is. It doesn't need a movie to end it off.
Yeah, that is true. All right, so Travis, how did you first get introduced to my work?
I can't exactly remember what podcast it was, but the one that stuck out to me when I was thinking about that question was Nick at 35.
Which one?
I think the first one.
All the way back to discussing about 1970s Nickelodeon, absolutely.
Yes, because with me, because I have to go in order. So I saw 3. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. I went back to 1. And I listened all the way through, and I freaking loved every minute of it. It was so good.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun doing that, absolutely. It took us a month to record all 5 episodes, and then I had to edit them. Maybe, I think I was staying up towards midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning just so I can have them out in a consistent weekly basis. I mean, especially with 3, 4, and 5, because they took hours to edit, especially 3. 3, if you take a look at the original raw audio that I posted on the Facebook page, that raw audio was 4 hours and 46 minutes, which that's still the longest podcast I've ever edited.
Yeah, he said it before we started. And DJ said he might be able to join him, but he might be able to, he'll have to use his phone.
That's fine, he can still use his phone. Alright, so, last but not least, we have Nick. So, yeah, Nick, how did you first get introduced to my work?
Well, I was actually watching that Blame It on Jorge video, and then I thought, hey, maybe this girl has some good work, and I checked out the Next Time podcast, and turns out you did have some good work, and I freaking loved the Nick at 35. In fact, I love it so much, I want to do a Nick at 40 podcast and have you as a special guest.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm actually planning on doing something like that. I'm doing the 40th anniversary of Pinwheel is coming up this December, and I am planning on doing something with that. It's going to be another month's worth of podcast, but it's not going to be the same thing as what I did with Nick at 35. I'm just going to be having different guests coming in and discussing about their thoughts about Nickelodeon. So, yeah, stay tuned for that. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Count me in on that one.
Alright, so, yeah, I already asked you guys a question, so, one by one, you can ask me any question that you want regarding about casual chats or my videos or what have you, so, Pocketbook, why don't you start us off?
Oh gosh, well, like I said before, I have a big Word document full of questions for you. Let me go to that right now. Let me see if I can pick one out of it.
Sure.
But does that have to be a question, or can it just be just something interesting?
It could be anything you want.
Actually, we talked about before about the All Real Monsters movie. I actually have a story about one of the Nick Spissel things. I actually was talking to someone online. Danny Micali, he was a writer for SpongeBob and Harvey Beaks, and he's writing for the upcoming Nicktoon Glitch text. And he was tweeting about the Best Baddies pilot, which is for the Nick Animated Shorts project. And I told him about the modifiers, and you know what he told me? He told me that he was actually at Nickelodeon when Chris Riccardi and Lynn Naylor were pitching it, and he said he loved the modifiers, and it was beautiful.
Oh, that's very nice.
And I even asked him if I asked him if he thought, hey, do you think Chris and Lynn could repitch it and see if Nick is interested this time around? And he said, I'm not sure. I can't speak for them, but I'm not sure if they'd want to.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so surprising because it could be one of 2 reasons. Number one, Nickelodeon still has the rights to the modifiers, and they probably wouldn't have been interested in it. I mean, it's been 10 years since the modifiers came out, if you can believe it. And so maybe they want to do like the new stuff because they are releasing some brand new shorts on the Nick.com website, and maybe they want to have that as a main priority to see what will come as a cartoon. And also another thing is similar to like animators and artists, they always love to do other projects and they like to move on to different things. They don't want to be stagnated into just one thing. So,
and by the way, go back. Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
So before we started this thing, I remember I mentioned to you the possible analysis video is I Am Frankie really rip off of My Life as a Teenage Robot.
Yeah.
Would you consider doing that if you watch I Am Frankie?
We'll have to see. I definitely have a lot of other things that I want to do down the line. I have so many analysis videos that I wanted to do for a while. I have this project that I've been planning on doing for years, but I never had the chance to. So,
well, I don't want to tell you what you can and can't make, but I think that'd be really interesting to see. And who's that talking in the background?
I don't know. I'm sure.
Oh, I'll be right back.
Sure, no problem. So, yeah, I think that for the most part, maybe I'll consider it, but I'll have to take a look to see if I want to pursue on something like that. But it could be interesting. I'll just have to wait and see.
At least check I Am Frankie out, because I actually have been watching I Am Frankie, and actually it's pretty interesting. And why do we hear crackling?
It's probably just somebody.
Hi guys, I'm back.
Oh, okay.
Sorry I had to leave for like 10 minutes to eat dinner.
That's fine, no problem.
But now I'm back.
Okay, cool. All right, yeah, I'll definitely take a look into I Am Frankie to see how, how it's to see if it was a ripoff of My Life as a Teenage Robot. But right now, I just have too many analysis videos on my list that I have to focus on.
Well, considering it's made by the same people, considering I Am Frankie is made by the same people as Every Which Way, I'm not sure how you'll take to that.
Yeah.
Oh God.
That should be interesting. All right. Well, like I said, maybe I'll discuss it down the line, but probably not anytime soon. All right. So, Celeste, do you have any questions that you'd like to ask?
So I'm curious. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, it's thanks to you that I'm now into like One Between and the Friday Night Nicktoons podcast. So I'm curious, how did you meet Casey and Ashley?
Oh, that's a great question. So,
Great question.
How I met Casey and Ashley was that I was on Twitter. So here's the thing. So, have any of you guys ever heard of a YouTuber named the J Wits?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay, so for those who don't know, the J Wits is a YouTuber who covers Pokemon stuff. He covers Pokemon facts, he does top 10 lists, and recently he's been doing a lot more Nintendo stuff. So, the J Wits, his sister is Ashley. And so I knew about Ashley for a while because she used to come into his live streams whenever they do like Mario Party live streams and stuff like that. And so then while I was following her, then there came the announcement that she was doing the Friday Night Nicktoons podcast with her high school friend Casey. And so this was around the time that the 25th anniversary of the Nicktoons celebration was coming along, and I wanted to invite some guests over to discuss about how the Nicktoons influenced this and how the Nicktoons influenced that. So while they were starting and I was listening to them, I thought, these guys have a lot of promise. So I invited them over to how the original Nicktoons influenced entertainment. And so then afterwards, we just became really close ever since.
Oh, okay, yeah, and I think I do remember that particular podcast, and I think that's where I first heard of them, and I'm like, okay, and I looked up the Friday Night Nicktoons podcast on iTunes, and I check it out every week.
All right.
I was kind of sad there wasn't an episode this last Friday.
Yeah, I know that Ashley's been really busy ever since her new work schedule's been overwhelming her, so it's not, it's perfectly fine, just as long as, they're able to keep themselves sane for, releasing a podcast episode every single week. I think they'll be okay. All right, so Ian, please, what question do you have?
Alright, I was wondering, since I was gone in the first part, do you mind if I, do my introduction of myself and, just mentioned how I first saw your stuff first? And then ask?
I guess. I think we did that, as the first question, but if you want to, that's fine, go ahead.
Thanks. Didn't get to actually share my part, but thank you. Alright, just to clear up, since I wasn't here earlier, I first saw your content and first heard about you, Patricia, once again through watching, the the Nick Slimecast podcast, and I actually remember the first time I watched the video of you. I remember it because it was the third podcast you guys had ever made on that channel. I think it was about Nick Magazine.
Yes, that was that was our third episode of the Nickelodeon Slimecast podcast.
Wow, I was right.
Going way back.
Yeah,
Even though that was the famous podcast where nothing was like on schedule.
I know that one. That was great.
But I remember looking for that because I don't know why. I was just like looking for something to do with Nick Magazine because I remember thinking back at the time how I used to get it when I was a kid, and I was really sad that it stopped publishing in 2009.
Brought it back in like 2013.
2015, and it was like, no, you ruined it. You messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, eventually I discovered, since you were my favorite commentator of the podcast on that channel, I went and looked at your channel, and I discovered your videos, including casual chats and all your analysis and other type videos, and I really like them. They give off quite the interesting opinion and topic, and it was really nice for me to see it because, honestly, it was nice to see just a random person on YouTube doing their own thing and putting out high-quality videos, like, without a budget or a studio or something big backing you up, you know?
Yeah, I pretty much had to do everything by myself. I even talked about how in Halcyon days, the only way I was able to get the certain angles of certain shots was like I had to put stuff on top and like stack it in books, and that scene in the refrigerator, I had to put it like on top of my microwave just so I can film.
No, and that's fine. Since you mentioned Halcyon days, that was probably my favorite video that you ever did because I don't know, that one not only had the longest story, but I just liked it. I was very impressed that you were able to do all the acting and the camera work for it, and pretty much by doing it all yourself. And it was like the first video I thought, like, yeah, it kind of was like, that's kind of the video that almost got me to get into YouTube, but my life schedule has never worked out for me to set aside the time for it. It's hard to manage a YouTube channel and go to college at the same time.
Yeah, it's even harder when, especially with YouTube nowadays, that in order for you to actually make any dent...
money at all.
Yeah, exactly. Any money at all, you have to be posting it on a consistent basis. Like, when I first joined up Frederator, Kate Heiser, who is like the main manager behind behind like, you know, hiring the people and stuff like that, he was saying like, in order for you to at least get your YouTube channel to grow, you have to post every day. And I'm like, Kate, I have a full-time job, I have a life, I have a family, that's impossible. And it's like, okay, can you at least try once a week? And I'm like, okay, I'll do my very best. And so now it's been fortunate that I do have casual chats and I do have War in Between to help me level out YouTube's you know, strict algorithm. And you know, whenever I post a video, just hoping that it does really well. It's been really difficult, absolutely, and I can understand that putting the balance between doing YouTube work and having your own life is hard. I mean, for a lot of people, YouTube is like their job now. I mean, it's dedicated as much as having a job, which is one of the most difficult things ever. So. Yeah, if you ever do pursue that, Ian, then, you know, I wish you the best of luck.
Well, thanks. If I ever do that, I'll be taking a lot of cues from you, so thanks for, you know, inspiring me to make content if I ever do.
Oh, I really appreciate that. All right, so Jordan, do you have any questions?
Well, two to begin with. I'll start with one, and most importantly, what was the process like for reaching out and securing guests for your shows?
Essentially, I stalk them in their sleep. No, I'm kidding. No, what I do is that a lot of them do have, like, official websites, and I message them to see if they're interested. And sometimes they have, like, their official Facebook pages, like, on their websites or on Twitter or whatever, and I message them there. Sometimes I get a response, sometimes I don't. Sometimes it can take years for me to get a response from any of them, like, for Craig Bartlett. I messaged him back in 2011. He got back to me at 2013.
Jeez.
So,
wow.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense because he was really busy doing Dinosaur Train at the time. So, I guess that, you know, he wasn't on, you know, his social media as often as to receive my message or whatever. And, you know, there's some people who decline. I remember this one person that years and years and years ago, Kevin and I, we wanted to interview for our blog. And this person was such a jerk that when we sent him our questions, like, you know, just like we do with every blog interview when we did it back then, was that we would send them a few questions and see if they would answer. And this person wrote back to us and said, do you know how long it takes for me to write this email, let alone answer your questions? I have a family to take care of. I have a job to do.
Ouch.
So, yeah, that pretty much is...
So busy with my dumb life.
They could have said no, but they could have done it a lot more nicer than that.
Yeah, I know. This person is such a...
what they were
They could have said, I'm sorry, I can't join, I have personal things to look forward to, I have a job, I'm sorry, I'm glad that you're thrilled, but I can't. Like, they could have said that, but no, they had to be a jerk.
Nah, trust me, you come across jerky people. It's unfortunate, but luckily most of the people that we've had on the show, they've been wonderful. They've been gracious with their time, and we're really appreciative of that. So the next thing that we do, after we get a hold of the person, we try to schedule up some time, whether it be on Skype or Google Hangouts. And, you know, for some people, it's on phone because they don't have Facebook or Twitter or any of that stuff. You know, Jim, I think Jim, I had to call him at the phone. So back then, when I didn't have my microphone, and this was our very first interview with Jim. So Kevin was on Skype, so I had to get and this was back when I was recording audio with my phone. So what I had to do was that I had to borrow my mother's phone so that I can be able to call Jim. And then I had to use my phone so that I can record the audio from Kevin on the computer, myself with talking, and Jim on the phone. And it was like an overall mess.
Well, another thing you could have done, is record, like do a Skype out call.
Yeah, I didn't have that back then. I have to remember that my very first computer that I ever did with, you know, doing stuff was that it was this old 5-year-old computer that was old and slow and falling apart. And the only reason why I got it was because I didn't have a job and this was a gift that I was given. And so this was like only used for work purposes. It wasn't used for doing online content. And so back in I want to say like 2013 or 2014 was when I got a hand-me-down computer and things were a lot more smoother. But even then, that computer was falling apart. Like it overheated very easily and the screen almost like snapped off. So I was lucky that I was able to record like 50 episodes of Casual Chats, all the Nickelodeon Slimecast podcasts leading up into when James and I had our comeback, and it didn't just die on me, so I was lucky.
Sounds like something that might happen to a computer in the Loud House.
Yeah, exactly. all stitched together with like duct tape and paper clips. Anyway, so after that, after we get after the recording on either Skype or Google Hangout, then I space it out between when I'm going to be posting up with an episode of Casual Chats, or I'm going to be spacing out with my videos, and then I just post it, and then I send everybody the link, and then it's uploaded for all of you guys to see. And then afterwards, if I want to focus on getting another guest to have on the podcast, or I just want to move on to discussing about a topic, then I do that. And so that's how the process goes.
How long does it take to edit a podcast?
I'm sorry?
How long does it take to edit a podcast?
How
long does it take to edit a podcast?
Oh, how long does it take to edit? Depending on, it depends on how long we're on the call. Let's just say it could take a few hours to edit out the ums or dead air, or if a person made a mistake, it's like, can you cut that off? And then I have to cut it off, then I have to put the intro, then I have to put the outro, so it does take a few hours.
It reminds me of high school. I was in the school's podcast club.
What did I miss?
Nothing. We were just answering. You guys are just asking questions and I'm just responding, so you didn't miss anything.
Okay, cool.
And you can always listen to this after it's uploaded on YouTube, and then you can just rehear everything you missed.
Yeah, that's pretty much true. Anyway, so, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead. You were saying about your high school podcast?
Oh, sorry. I was actually commenting the editing part of cutting out what people said. It reminds me of when I was in my high school's podcast club, because my high school had a podcast, and I was helping out one time with the editing of the podcast, and it just reminds me of what editing is. It's just like spending minutes and minutes and sometimes hours hearing minute details and cutting out seconds and replacing seconds and moving seconds of like dead air, cutting out mistakes, like just fixing the way you're editing. It's just like there are memories there for me, man, you know?
Yeah, it does take a long time.
That is quite the experience.
Yeah, that is.
Sounds very tedious.
It's incredibly tedious. Like editing videos, especially editing videos, is even more work because first of all, you have to not only edit the audio, you have to edit the video and making sure that you stay within the 10-second time limit. That way, YouTube doesn't come and crash you immediately, saying, you know, you got a clip from this, or we're gonna take it down for copyright claims.
Well.
Is that including like the Viacom like clips, like when you show like like glimpse of like, for instance, as told by Ginger or Rugrats or any other Hey Arnold or any other Nicktoon?
Trust me, every single time that I've uploaded anything related to that, I have gotten a copyright claim. Believe it or not, the only one that I haven't gotten is Rugrats. I've never gotten a copyright claim from Viacom about from pilot to final product on Rugrats. Everything else, I've had to remove it.
Unbelievable.
My from pilot to final product on the Fairly Odd Parents was what caused me to have a copyright strike on my YouTube channel, and I didn't upload a single thing for months. I had to post trailers, so even then I don't want to risk it. So that's why my from pilot to final product on Fairly Odd Parents is still on my Vimeo page. I can't upload it on YouTube until things get fixed up.
Patricia?
Yes.
So you could use those clips as long as they're like 10 seconds long?
Or even shorter, just as long as you're following the fair use. I got advice from my friend, Writer's Blog, who was on the Samurai Jack podcast. He said 10 seconds or less, you should be okay. But even then, that still doesn't work. Viacom is incredibly strict when it comes to that. I haven't had any other complaints with any other of my videos that I posted. My Carmen San Diego from Pilot to Final Product, I've had no problems from PBS saying you're using long clips. I've never had a problem with that.
Well, remember
Viacom is strict.
Yeah.
Well, remember last year, something you did for Hey Arnold.
Yeah, my top 20 Hey Arnold list was taken down 4 times.
God. Wow. Oh, God. And you had to split it into 2 parts.
Yeah, and then I had to split it into 2 parts, and even then they took it down. So I had to find a way to, cheat my way to making it as short as I could. And eventually it's been fine now. I haven't received any more copyright claims, so I'm good. But yeah.
What did you do?
I just made the clip shorter. I know. Trust me, it sucks. If you want to see the full version, if you want to see. Go ahead.
It's okay, Patricia, because you're not the only one who goes through this. I know people like Nostalgic Critic and I Hate Everything. I know they have to show short movie clips, and I'm also subscribed to another channel called Adosa Buckley, and he does a lot of music reviews. He does like musical autopsies and worst songs lists, and he often talks about how he thinks it's BS, and every time like Sony or Warner always claims on one of his music reviews. He always says it's fair use, and even made a video about the laws of YouTube and stuff. And so trust me, Patricia, you're not the only one who goes through this. Pretty much everyone who uses any kind of copyrighted media does.
Yeah,
it is BS.
Yeah, it is. So almost all reviewers on YouTube.
Yeah. All right, let's go over to our next question. Cameron, I believe you're next.
Yeah.
Would you like me to skip? Would you like to skip until you think of something?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, Travis. Do you have a question?
I was thinking of this. Let's see.
I have a lot of questions.
I have one. I have one. Are you ever going to consider canceling Nickelodeon Simcast podcast, or are you going to continue that, or what's going on with that?
I'm done already. I've already stated that I'm finished with the Nickelodeon Simcast podcast. I'm no longer associated with the Facebook page, so yeah, I'm finished. I'm done.
So the Facebook page is all done and over with, and nothing else is going on?
I'm not the person who runs the Facebook page. I was just one of the admins. James is the one who runs the Facebook page, so I don't know what's going on. I haven't followed the Facebook page since I left, so yeah, I have no more associations with that or with that podcast. So yeah, my time with the Nickelodeon Slimecast podcast is over. So yes,
right. That stinks.
I'm very sorry.
Well,
it's kind of a shame because I think
she's announcing a lot of stuff at once. I mean, she was doing casual chats. We were between Nick Slimecast podcast, and you have to drop something.
Yeah, so, I mean, you have to understand that for 5 years straight, I did like no less than 5 or 6 podcasts. I did casual chats. Wow. I did Turtle Talk, which was a TMNT podcast that I did with Kevin. I did Nick Jukebox, which was focusing on like Nickelodeon songs. Then I did Nick Slimecast podcast. Then Nick Slimecast podcast was branched out into Nick at 35, Nick's Missile, Nick Debates, and then eventually I did We're in Between. So yeah, I do a lot.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with that too.
Well, I'm going to have to leave here pretty soon, but I have one thing to tell you. Patricia, thank you for having me on. Thank you for doing all this, because you are one of the many that have inspired me to talk about Nickelodeon, even though I don't do it much.
Well, that's very sweet of you.
And if you ever need anyone or any of your podcasts, just let me know, and I'm here for you.
Well, thank you very much, Travis. I really do appreciate it.
Yes, well, speaking with the Nickelodeon...
Hi, Travis.
The Nickelodeon podcast. I'm sorry.
Good.
I also realized the Nickelodeon, the Nick at 35 videos, and some of the Nick Slimecast podcast videos have since been removed.
Yeah, I've already mentioned this before, that somebody who was a part of those podcasts wanted those to be removed for personal reasons, so I had no other choice but to remove them. And I'm sure somebody out there has like uploaded them to like some obscure site or something. So trust me, it was what they were going through during those podcasts. It was really bad for them personally, so I had no other choice but to remove them. So I'm very sorry.
All right.
Anyway, so Nick, why don't you ask the next question?
My question is more of an opinion/question, but we all know by now that I freaking love shows like Avatar: The Last Airbender and As Told by Ginger, and hate shows like Chum Chum and Breadwinners. So I was wondering, what do you think makes a good show and a bad show?
Well, what defines a good show and a bad show is really up to the person's opinion. I mean, it depends on a few factors, whether it really connects to them, whether they grew up with it, or if it connects to them because it's a show that's very similar to another show, or maybe it's just either the quality of the characters or the writing, or even the soundtrack or the art design.
Yeah, there are some shows that people that most people can agree are good or bad. Like most people can agree that Avatar is good. Most people can agree that Breadwinners is bad.
Well, so on the contrary, one of our admins, when we were doing the Avatar: The Last Airbender podcast, he actually didn't care for it. And
I actually follow someone on Twitter who does like Breadwinners. His name's Jared Reese. Hi, Jared, if you're listening, I'm probably going to link you this later.
So yeah, I mean, I even know people who even liked Fanboy and Chum Chum, and I know people who liked Mr. Meaty. And
I was one of the people who liked Fanboy and Chum Chum, actually.
So yeah, I mean, trust me. I would say that, back then when I was just starting to do the podcast, if it was a show that I felt was like really, really bad, then I would state my opinion, which is why a whole bunch of people from the Roundhouse community crashed on me.
Saying, and how much your 20 through 11 Nick shows that you made, and you were going on about how much you hated iCarly.
Yeah.
And you know what? If 2012 you hated iCarly, what would 2012 you think of Henry Danger or Game Shakers?
Oh God, Game Shakers is essentially iCarly 2.0, except
even like fans of iCarly say Game Shakers is just iCarly again, except with games.
Yeah, and again, I'll definitely mention that in my video about looking back on my list, and I still feel about. I don't hate iCarly. I just found it to be like wasted opportunity because I think it could have been so much better.
Well, speaking of that, this is a little on the side, but the idea you had about your remake of iCarly, I actually don't agree with, because, I mean, your idea about kids typing on a blog, I mean, that for 22 minutes, that would be boring. Like, the reason why iCarly worked for a lot of people is because they did funny skits and stuff. Kids typing on a blog for 22 minutes, that'd be boring. And also... Also, we kind of did a remake of iCarly. It's called Bizarrevark. It's on the Disney Channel. It's basically a ripoff of iCarly, and that it's and so yeah. But you wanted a remake of iCarly, and you got one, and it's even worse.
Well, I've never seen the show, so yeah, I guess
I've never seen it either, but I've heard not good things about it.
Yeah, it's funny because it's funny about how Nickelodeon and Disney Channel shows seem to be really similar to one another. Even
there's also another Nick sitcom that people accuse of being a ripoff of Star versus the Forces of Evil. It's called The Other Kingdom, and everyone hated it because everyone said it was a ripoff of Star versus the Forces of Evil.
Yeah, that's what I thought of it.
And by the way, Patricia, The Other Kingdom is created by none other than the same guy that made Alex Mack and Caitlin's Way, Mr. Lynch. So, I wonder how you'll think of The Other Kingdom when you finally get around to watching that show, too.
Yeah, I mean, remember, if I am going to watch it, I have to watch it on its own merits. I'm not going to see it as like a quote-unquote ripoff. If it does things well that the other show doesn't, then I'll point it out. If it doesn't, then, yeah, I'll definitely state it, but...
Well, I'm done talking. I don't want to talk too much. I know there's other people here, and I don't want to overshadow them.
Sure, I understand. But yeah, we'll definitely see how that goes. But anyway, bottom line, if a person likes a show or doesn't like a show and you don't agree or disagree with them, that's perfectly fine. We're all different people with different tastes. So that's all I can say.
It's kind of like what Hey Arnold says. You know, it doesn't matter what the others think. All that matters is what you think.
Exactly.
You like it.
That's a good moral.
Yeah, exactly. I even mentioned in my video about why I was told about Ginger was a groundbreaking and overlooked Nicktoon that there is even people who don't even like Hey Arnold because it's like, oh, it's about this kid who goes to school. I go to school. I don't want to watch that. I want to watch Batman. So
well, that's okay. We all have shows that we think are overrated or underrated. We all have them. So exactly. I mean, it's okay if someone disagrees with you as long as they're not like making fun of you for it.
That's right. Exactly. So, yeah, to answer your question, Nick, so basically, if you know somebody who likes a certain show that you don't care about, then that's perfectly fine. We all have our opinions. So, okay, I guess we can, so it's my turn to ask you guys a question. So, let's start things off with discussing about, well, I already discussed about, like, you know, how you first got introduced to me. So, now going back into that other question that I asked you guys. So, what has been your favorite episode of Casual Chat? So, go ahead, Norbert.
Well, thanks for calling me Norbert, by the way, yeah. Anyway, I haven't listened to all your casual chats because I like We're in Between more because not all the stuff we talk about in casual chats is interesting to me. I personally likes and dislikes. I'd say my favorite casual chats are probably some of the interviews. Like I really like the interview with Mitch Shower, Joe Murray, Clint from the Rise and Fall of Nickelodeon. I really like those. I haven't listened to all of them, like the ones about Scooby-Doo or Batman, because I'm not really into that. I'm mostly into the Nickelodeon stuff. That's what actually got me into your channel in the first place. Like I said, like with the Nick Slimecast podcast. So those are my favorite casual chats episodes.
I'm actually curious now. What is your favorite episode of We're in Between that we've done?
Oh gosh, probably either. Oh gosh, like does that like I mean like as the episode or can do the interviews count too?
Sure, the interviews can count too.
Oh gosh, well if the interviews count, either Melissa Diz's interview or Aspen Vincent's interview.
Oh, those are good ones, absolutely.
If I had to pick like an episode that you talked about, I don't know. I like when you read the comments. Like, I love you reading. I love when you read out my comment about the Nickelodeon cookbook for Ginger Solo. Which, by the way, I actually have more ideas for the Nick cookbook. I'll tell you that in a later We're in Between episode.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. All right. So Celeste, love to now that you have been listening to We're in Between as well, and you know, as well as somebody who's new to As Told by Ginger, I'd love to know from you what has been your favorite episode so far.
Well, I agree with Norbert here. I've enjoyed the ones where you read off some of my comments. I'm the one who sell rock over in the We're in Between forums. And I loved how you guys liked my feedback on Goodbye Nana Bishop and Family Therapy. I think were the two that I've left feedback on. I think I might have left feedback on another one, but it wasn't read.
Okay, yeah. We like to give other of our listeners a chance if we haven't showcased them.
And but that's okay. And I think, well, I mean, obviously the episodes, obviously if it's focusing on an episode I really like, I like, so any episodes, obviously the series that you guys talked about, obviously I like those, you know, Come Back Little Seal Girl, Hello Stranger, Family Therapy, Goodbye Nana Bishop, but even some of the ones that weren't your favorites, like the season 2 finale, I actually enjoyed.
Given to extremes.
Nice. Yeah, because it was nice seeing what it was like. We got to talk about one you didn't like, and I'll be honest, I didn't care for that either. I'm like, hello, like, I mean, I'm very much like Macy, and there's been teachers in my time I haven't liked either, but the last thing I would be doing is going and TPing and
exactly.
and posting the house.
Yeah,
you know, I mean,
yeah.
All right, so what is your favorite episode of Casual Chats?
So for Casual Chats, I mean, it's hard to say. I think most of the ones I really liked were, well, that's most of the interviews, especially when you interviewed people that I found interesting. Like, I think you did Jim Jenkins on one, Craig Bartlett on one, and I know you did the person who created Angry Beavers on an episode.
Mitch Shower.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is some of these same people that you've interviewed, I've also heard their interviews on the Nick Animation podcast with Hector Navarro. So what's so interesting is seeing your interviews with them, seeing their interviews with him. And it's so interesting how, you know, no two interviews are exactly alike. You might get some of the same information in both because of the questions answered, but you might get different information. And I just find that so interesting. And learning about, you know, where they got the inspiration or some little funny story about, you know, their work. I've also enjoyed, you know, the bonus podcasts that were in between. Those have been fun too. Because it was interesting to hear, you know, how their work behind the scenes went. And I really do hope that eventually we will get a bonus podcast with the creator of A Told by Ginger.
I'm hoping so too.
Well, Emily's very busy, so that may not be possible.
At least I know that with Craig Bartlett, I mean, this is a little bit different. You see, Craig Bartlett was working for a long time, and then eventually he got hold of me. With Emily's a little bit different because the only way you can contact Emily is on Twitter, and so I messaged her on Twitter a handful of times over the years, and I still haven't received anything. And she doesn't go to social media very often because she's always busy with other work. So, you know, I know she's the executive producer on something on ABC. She's working on a pilot for Fox. So we'll just hope and see if she ever does. It would be so nice if we can cap off the We're in Between podcast with an interview with Emily. I'm hoping and praying that happens.
That would be a great ending.
I also thought it was nice how you had some of the people who worked on A Told by Ginger be part of an episode, like you had one of the writers,
Eric Casimiro.
Yeah, on one of the episodes, you know, which I thought was interesting. That I wasn't expecting. You know, I thought all the episodes were just going to be like you and Casey, or you and Casey and Ashley before Ashley had to cut back, etc., whatever, and just have them on the bonus. So that's been a nice tweak too.
Yeah, that's also been a lot of fun, especially if it's an episode that they feel really proud on working on. All right, Ian, yeah, go ahead, answer for what's been your favorite episode of Casual Chats.
Man, oh man. Okay, for my two favorite interview podcasts, I have to say would probably be one, your interview with Will McRobb. I love that one. And the other one, what was my favorite, was your interview with Matthew Clipstein.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, I like that one because I just had recently got the book as Slime No History with Nickelodeon, and I just recently started reading it, so it was good to hear that one again.
That's nice. Also, I'm sure that some of you guys know, but did you know that my name is on that book?
Really? It is?
No!
Yeah.
Really? No, I did not know that.
Yeah,
Wait, what book?
If you go, the Slimed, an oral history of Nickelodeon's Golden Age book.
That's
Holy
cool!
crap! Holy crap, like where? Like, what's your name?
If you go to page 220 at the acknowledgements, you can see that my name's there.
Oh, and why do you put your name there? Why do you put your name there?
Well, you have to, okay, so here's the thing. I'm sure that some of you guys know this as well if you listen to that interview with Matthew Klickstein, but Kevin and I were the very first people who ever interviewed him.
Wow.
Like the very first.
Wow.
This is right even before the book was a concept. You see, how I found Matthew was that I was looking around for information about Nickelodeon and like the oral history of stuff like that, and the only way that I was able to find that stuff was back on like websites like Retro Junk, and those were like opinionated. I wanted to find like cold hard facts, and then some guy was posting stuff on Splitsider, and he got interviews from the people, and it was discussing about Nickelodeon in a way that I've never seen before. I wanted to get a hold of this guy. And so I got a hold of Matthew, messaging him on Splitsider, and he said yes, and we did our very first blog interview with him. And what he did was that he responded to every single answer to the question in caps lock.
Wow.
So then years later, we got a hold of him for our podcast when he was doing his book events for the first time, and we, got to know more about, his process of doing the book and etc. And so eventually, I didn't even ask him about this. I didn't even know that my name was going to be on the book. It was the day that I left the book event, and I was reading through it, and then throughout the end, I saw that my name was on it. And I'm like, what? Why is my name on this? It's crazy. So, I thank Matthew for that. I really do appreciate that he was able to put my name on that. And he also put my name in something else, which I'm not going to say what it is. I'm sure that sometime down the line you'll find out.
Oh, boy.
Okay, well, that is cool. I am very impressed. Like, that's amazing. I now own a book that has one of my favorite YouTubers' names in it, who got an acknowledgement for writing one of my favorite books about Nickelodeon. So,
it's fantastic.
You're a star now.
Together in a nice little bow.
What'd you say, Cameron?
What I said that you're a star now.
Yes.
No, I'm not.
Stop.
You are now famous.
Well, blame it on George. George made you famous. So now you're even more famous.
Trust me, it's nothing really. It's absolutely nothing.
I remember Jackie
getting acknowledged in a book.
Hey,
That's amazing.
I remember Jackie. I remember Jackie said we were between that your podcast helped everyone ask someone to reconnect. So in a way, you are kind of famous, Patricia. If Blame It on George wasn't enough.
I guess so. I mean, I never really considered myself that, but that's really nice of you. I really do appreciate it. All right, so yeah. Anyway, Jordan, you're next. What's been your favorite episode of the podcast?
Well, if I had to choose one, I would probably go with the All That, or the interview that you did with Paul Germain with the Rugrats. The reason being is because, Paul and I think Joe and Soliva here in a later interview provided all this interesting behind-the-scenes stuff that in hindsight, I felt was very, very interesting to listen to. And as I heard Paul and Joe and these other guests talk about the creative processes they went into when creating Rugrats, I was reflecting in my head about, that's why they had this certain scene in, or that's why they did things a certain way that they did, particularly how they originally split from the original 65 to the new 65, the revival era, and everybody's take on how the differences between the original 65 and the revival era, where in my personal opinion, I tended to, for example, by the way, like the reboot episodes, but that's just my opinion. All those interviews, that was just one example of why I felt those episodes were my favorite, because they provided this behind-the-scenes commentary, analysis, and tidbits of information that created an aha moment in my head. Say, now I understand why there were certain things in those certain shows that happened the way that they did.
Yeah, and to be quite honest, I mean, those things weren't even around back then. Like, if you wanted to see an interview with Paul Germain, I think the most recent one that I did find was, like, a few years ago in, like, some newspaper article where he was discussing about the whole accusations about, like, you know, in the original Rugrats, is Chucky's mom dead or something like that? It's like, no, it was just an inside joke that we just put in. It's like, oh, we wanted to have them divorced, and Nickelodeon's like, oh, no, we don't want that. Okay, then we'll just kill her off. It's like, oh, no, you shouldn't do that. So, yeah. But then since then...
what year was that newspaper article from?
I don't remember. I think it was like LA Times, I think it was, but I don't remember. It was something from years ago.
I said what year?
What year? God, this must have been like 94, 95, I think.
So you were the very next person to interview Paul Germain after that.
I don't think so. I think maybe he was interviewed for something else, maybe on another newspaper, or maybe even a magazine, I don't know, but as far as like more recent ones, yes, I think I was, because this was before the Nick Animation podcast.
Okay, yeah, so go ahead, what were you saying before?
Yeah. So, Cameron, were you able to figure out a question that you wanted to ask me right before I asked you about your favorite episodes?
Actually, yes. You said something about, like, you had, like, something special, that's revolving around Hey Arnold. Has that ever been made yet?
I'm still working on it. It's just that I need money. You see, here's the thing. I'm working on a special video that requires me to have a lot of elements to it. I need music, I need narration, I need art, and these freelance artists do not come cheap. So there's some things that I do need to have reenacted that I couldn't find anywhere else, and I need to pay them with money. But for the most part...
Does it involve the Jungle movie?
I'm sorry?
Does it involve the Jungle movie?
No.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. No, it has nothing to do with the Jungle movie. I already did my history of Hey Arnold the Jungle movie, and I know people want to see a follow-up, but I'm gonna wait until the movie's out, and I want to see if all those rumors about a 6th season or, you know, all whatever is gonna be happening. So
November 24th at 7 p.m. Make sure you watch it.
Yes.
It's getting close.
I've been waiting 15 years. I've been waiting 15 years for this movie. I'm going to see it, and if anybody gets in my way, in the words of Helga G. Pataki, you'll have to answer to old Betsy and the 5 of Vincent.
I thought you were gonna say move it, football head.
That's what I thought too.
Out of my way, bucko.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I trust me, I am gonna definitely see this movie. I already have it like on demand, ready to be recorded right now, so I can see it a million times. Yeah. Anyways,
I've never been this anticipated for Thanksgiving ever.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, one more thing. Yeah. And this is going to make you all gag. Do you know what else Nick is airing on Thanksgiving weekend in addition to the Jungle movie?
What?
A crossover between Henry Danger and Game Shakers.
No! Oh my god.
I mean, if iCarly and Victorious can cross over, then why not? I guess they're both popular shows. But watch the Jungle movie instead.
Well, last year I was pretty anticipating because we had the Legend of the Hidden Temple movie, but before that I don't think I was excited for Thanksgiving weekend since the days of, remember Nonstop Nicktoons weekend? Oh my god, I was like sitting in front of the TV all weekend.
Yeah, that was great, yeah.
Me too.
Anyway.
Oh, speaking of crossovers.
Yeah.
Speaking of crossovers, did you hear that, like, the Loud House actually crossed over with Legend of the Hidden Temple?
Yeah,
they did.
I saw that.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was very good. I will admit, though, that they did change a few things. And trying to smash it into 10 minutes, I thought was a little... I'm like, okay, they should have made this a 22-minute episode. You know, because Legends was a half-hour show, I think. And because, like...
Yeah, well, I mean, Sanjay and Craig had the Double Dare episode and the Guts episode, and those were 11 minutes long. So I guess with Sanjay and Craig gone, another show has to do with all of the game show tribute episodes.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see the tribute episode to You're On.
Oh, there's going to be a You're On tribute video?
No, I'm kidding. I hope it's not.
And I know I've ever said in an interview that you hated. On one of your last videos, you said that you hated Euron.
I still do.
And also like Fast and Make the Grade. I've never seen those, by the way.
Yeah, I think the Fast is like trying to be like Double Dare, except not cohesive, and Make the Grade is Jeopardy, and it's so boring.
They're probably lost. Like, there's probably no way you can find those episodes, so you don't need to worry about that anyway, because they're probably nowhere online.
Back then they were, but I guess they're not. So, yeah, it's funny because back then when I was doing the Nickelodeon tribute, there were like 2-minute clips of Pinwheel. Nowadays, there's like 6-hour marathons of Pinwheel that you could watch. It's like, sometimes they get taken down, sometimes they are uploaded because of copyright claims or whatever. The internet's a funny thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
I know, you can't understand this place.
Yeah, I know. Anyway.
What were you going to ask me, Patricia?
I was just going to say, well, you already asked me the question that you wanted to ask. So, my question was, what was your favorite episode of Casual Chats or War in Between? Which one did you prefer to answer?
Casual Chats, I probably liked, I kind of was a little interested in Paul Germain because I got to, I got to see, like, what his feelings were on the new Rugrats. And I have this, I know this is probably going to sound terrible, but he sounded a little abrasive towards it.
Well, you have to understand that when he was working on Rugrats the first time, it wasn't like a massive hit. Rugrats and Doug were heavily overshadowed by Ren and Stimpy. So after he left, boom, Rugrats became a huge financial success. There's a Rugrats movie that's coming out. It's making a bunch of money. And he kind of felt a little bit bitter about it.
Well, now that I listen to it, now I understand why the first 65 episodes versus the reboot of the show is so different. Because, like, I felt like in the first couple episodes, it was kind of more like, it kind of was a bit, darker. I felt like it was a bit darker. For some reason.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was a lot of episodes that are a little bit more serious and heavy-handed, like the trial episode, which is one of Paul's favorites. I mean, it's treated like very seriously, as opposed to like if it was like a dream sequence in like the later episodes, we played more for laughs.
Yeah, that's what I noticed, like, in the later seasons. It's more saccharine and sickly sweet.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because, Arlene Klasky, who was one of the creators, that's what she wanted to have Rugrats be in the first place. But since Paul Germain was, like, the main showrunner and one of the writers, and he was the one who was heavily responsible for leading the voice actors and keeping an eye on everything, he pretty much just took over the show in the earlier seasons. And then when he left, and a lot of the writers left, and a lot of the animators left, a whole bunch of new people came along, and Arlene pretty much took over.
I guess Arlene got her wish, and also it's kind of like SpongeBob. It's kind of like SpongeBob. Like after the first movie and before the first movie, it just kind of feels different because there's new people.
Yeah, I mean, she essentially did what she felt Rugrats should have been in the first place. Like, Angelica was a lot more nicer. She always hated Angelica, even though that, even though she did act mean somewhat in the later seasons, she's, like, a little toned down. The animation's different because they switched over to digital paint. The stories were a lot more simpler to follow and understand. And that became a huge hit for Rugrats. And it pretty much just became the main cartoon that dominated Nickelodeon until SpongeBob came along. So you can understand why Paul felt a little bit upset that, his version of Rugrats never really took off, and then Arlene's version of Rugrats, which he felt was not what he envisioned Rugrats should be, kind of like was left in the wayside.
Well, at least Recess and Lloyd in Space were what he wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Even though those shows weren't really dark. Those were more lighthearted shows.
Oh, I have to understand that censorship started becoming a little bit more prominent in the late 90s.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Lloyd in Space had its moments, but then again, it's a different type of show, too, and it's with older kids, so...
Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. And it's Disney.
Lloyd in Space was the one show by Paul Germain I didn't really care for.
That's fine. I've never seen the show, so I wouldn't know.
I've seen it recently.
And take it from somebody who loves Rugrats is probably like my all-time favorite Nicktoon. I liked it all the way through. I will admit that after the All Grown Up special, it started to weaken tremendously. But
that's fine.
I liked Rugrats up to.
I know people don't like. I know some people that they really hate Dill from Rugrats and Kimmy. They think they're pointless characters, kind of like Sparky and Chloe from the Fairly Odd Parents.
Yeah.
I will agree. They could have used more character development, and thankfully, I write. I'm part of the main writers of Rugrats fan fiction. I go and fix that in my stories.
Well, that's great.
Good for you.
I have some of them a little bit older, and everybody tells me how they love how I write Dill. I write him, and it's so interesting because I'll explore the characters at ages we didn't see on the series, even post All Grown Up. And I'm doing a series called Preschool Days Reboot with the original Rugrats in preschool rather than Angelica and Susie.
Oh, that's
and it's so funny.
Yeah.
It's so funny because
Well, that would sound nice.
It's so funny because Miss Weimer gets Tommy in her class, and her first thought is, I hope he's not like her cousin, his cousin.
It's very fascinating.
Somebody tells me that if Rugrats ever gets rebooted or gets a TV movie, kind of like Legend of the Hidden Temple or Hey Arnold or Invader Zim, Dill and Kimmy will not be in it. Like they'll be wiped out.
Yeah. Have you read? There's a new Rugrats comic book series that just came out,
and those don't have Dill and Kimmy in them.
Yeah, Dill and Kimmy are not in it. It's basically going back into basics. So
the original Rugrats comic series from the late 90s, they came out right around the time that Dill and Kimmy were being introduced. So most of even those didn't have them in it, so it actually makes sense. Mm-hmm. Because those comics actually, the original Rugrats comic adventures basically had the main characters in it, minus Dill and Kimmy, basically, so I'm not surprised.
Sure.
Well, I guess Dill and Kimmy just got the Sparky treatment.
Yeah.
Yes, I guess they got Sparky.
Yeah. All right. Nick, I'm sorry. Cameron, did you have any favorite episodes that were in between?
Well, I want to say all of them, but I think maybe it's Come Back Little Silver Girl and Family Therapy and of course, then she was gone.
Oh yeah, those were great.
And you know something, the more I watch your podcast, the more interested I am in taking a look at this show, because this came out when I was 6, and the last thing that I wanted to watch was just what I'm going to experience in middle school in 6 years.
Yeah.
I'll admit, I didn't really watch it Told by Ginger back in doing its original run. Didn't really click. And now that I'm checking out One Between, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Back when Told by Ginger was coming out, I was a big fan, as far as Nicktoons go, of Hey Arnold and the Wild Thornberrys. I've always wanted to try. If I could be a Thornberry, I think I would love it. I mean, getting to go over the world and
that would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Nick.
Yeah, you're not.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just one last thing. I know I'm talking a lot.
Sure, go ahead.
But it's just that those episodes involving around Macy revolve, still being more subversive and still having that childlike innocence to her. It's sort of inspiring because she still holds on to what she believes is cool, and she doesn't care what everyone else thinks is cool. It's pretty much the same thing with all the nostalgic Nicktoons that I'm looking back on. It's just whatever makes me happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's what makes Macy a great character.
Yes, absolutely. All right, Nick, you're next.
All right, so some of my favorite podcast episodes have been the Nickelodeon one, and We're in Between, of course. And then as for We're in Between, my favorite episode of that is probably And She Was Gone, and the interview with, what's her name who voices Macy again? I forget.
Jackie Harris.
Jackie Harris.
Oh, Jackie Harris, thank you. I mean, Macy is my favorite characters of all time. She is so beautifully written, so beautifully acted, and just everything about her. And I mean, Jackie did such an amazing job voicing her.
Oh, yeah.
Because her nicely voice and sort of a childish instinct, and stuff like that.
Nice Missy impression.
Yeah, that's a great. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was great. You should do voice acting.
I have a part that I hope I'm going to pitch to Nickelodeon, but it's not likely to go anywhere. I just have it for fun.
That's good. You want to know? It's funny because I actually received a message from somebody the other day, and they said that my favorite episode that you did of We're in Between was Sibling Revelry, where you got angry, and I'm like, thank you. And then he said,
I think you got angry and driven to extremes. Actually, you're like, "Screw you, lady."
Yeah, exactly. They just somebody even said, just do a compilation of all the times you got angry. It's like saying, like, seriously, dude, the program is over. Piss off, or screw you, lady. Seriously.
I guess he just likes to hear your blood boil from those episodes.
Yeah, and here's the thing: I don't get angry very often. I guess it's like a rare
when you
thing.
do, it's all the more funny because of the way you sound when you're angry. It just leads to comedy.
Yeah, I know.
People,
It's like, when somebody gets angry online, it's like, oh, they're getting really angry. It's like, I should stay away from them.
I don't like shouting. I don't like people like shout really loud. That's why I don't really like Mr. Enter that much. And
I have very sensitive hearing myself. I'm Asperger's syndrome, and I have very
I have
sensitive
Asperger's too. I have Asperger's too.
So do I.
Oh, wow.
Well, Mr. Enter's okay.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I have Asperger's syndrome. It's like just like you, Patricia.
That's nice. I'm glad to hear that.
So do I, actually, if you could hear.
Awesome. The 3 people. Anyone else in this chat have Asperger's syndrome too?
Me.
Going once? Going twice?
A lot of people are, so yes.
Could you hear my chime in? Or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm glad that a lot of you guys have Asperger's syndrome. It's I actually mentioned that one of my blogs that I'm still very proud of is like me coping with the fact that of my Asperger's syndrome, because this was back when it wasn't as known and I didn't really know what was wrong with me until I was in high school, and I still had difficulties coping with the fact that I wasn't like everybody else, that I couldn't make friends the way other people do. I couldn't talk the way everybody was talking.
That's okay. I'm not ashamed of my Asperger's, so it's okay, Patricia. I never made friends in school either, but I turned out fine.
Yeah, you turned out fine.
You know what? I'm blind. I'm hard of hearing. I have mild CP. I have ADHD. I haven't had a ton of friends either. Most of my friends are online, and I only basically have 2 friends locally that I've known since middle school. Then most of the people I've known, like, they either moved on, like, we all moved away in elementary school, or we moved on to, like, everybody grew up faster than I did. I mean, I was sort of the Macy in, middle school and high school. I was, except, kind of, but, so what? I mean, I have some great online friends, and,
Yeah, we're living in an age where you can have perfectly normal friendships online, and that's the great thing about the internet and YouTube. It can introduce you to so many different people and get you to...
And thanks to getting into fan fiction, I've met some friends that have similar interests to me. We'll stay up late and watch Nick's Splat together and chat on Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I wish that I had that when I was a kid.
Awesome.
I wish.
Celeste, did you say you were blind?
Yes.
Then how the heck are you doing this if you're blind? How the heck do you know to click on the Google Hangout, whatever?
Because I have a screen reader called VoiceOver on my phone, and I have a screen reader on my computer called JAWS, or Job Access with Speech.
Have you been blind all your life, or did you become blind later?
Well, I was visually impaired, so I had some usable vision out of my right eye from about, from when I was a baby to when I was about 25 and a half, and I had some retina surgery to reattach my retina because it had become detached, and it wasn't successful. So I've basically been totally blind since 2010, but because I did have some sight at one time, I do know what colors look like. I was able to learn how to write at one time. I could play video games as a kid. I did actually.
Well, it's nice that you're still surviving, Celeste. It's really great to hear that. Despite the fact that you can't see, you've still been able to have a good life so far.
Yeah, that's really nice.
That is really great, Celeste.
Really inspiring.
Yes, we're doing research. My daytime job involves research for people with visual impairments, particularly their use of technology, and we're doing a lot of great things that's supposed to help them. So I understand from that perspective where all that comes from and the difficulties and the experience.
We're way off topic.
That's okay. You see, if any of you guys have listened to my podcast for this long, you do know that we tend to get off topic a lot, especially if I have people like Nero Angeles or some jerk from Boston, in which they would go on long rants with obscenities. Trust me, I've had this so many times. Nick Slimecast podcast, we've gone off topic way too many times.
I mean, this is probably going to be one of your longest casual chats, Patricia. Just saying.
That's okay. It's fine.
Don't worry, you're not alone.
I love going
off topic.
Trust me, I love going off topic because you get to know people. You get to hear people's opinions.
I love going off topic.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So anyway, going back into that discussion. So I'm really glad that all of us were able to connect in some way. We're able to just share our information and our knowledge about how we got to know each other or got to know my work or whatever. It's just, I find it very interesting and how some of your stories are similar, some of your stories are different, and I just love the fact that we're able to come together for this fifth year anniversary celebration. So
I think it's great, that, I might be a kid at heart, and I think that, like, this podcast and other things I'm into, that there are other people in the world who are like me, who have similar interests. I'm not the only person who still likes classic Nickelodeon or whatever, or watches The Loud House, or is looking forward to the Jungle movie. There's actually other people on the planet.
Yeah, there you go. All right,
the great thing about...
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, the great thing about the internet, especially with YouTube channels like yours, Patricia, is that it brings people together. It brings together people who might think they're weird or different or might have gotten looked down upon in the past for liking things that are meant for kids. And, hey, it's like getting these people together and saying, hey, we like all this stuff, and you like all this stuff too? Huh, maybe our backgrounds are a little bit similar. Let's get to talk. Let's get together. Let's thank the person who got us here and who got us an interest in all these different things. If I had never discovered you or your videos, I never would have watched As Told by Ginger, the whole series. I eventually watched it after seeing your favorite episode video because I wanted to see what the show was like, and it became probably my second favorite Nicktoon.
Honestly, ditto. But I'm sure you get this question. I'm sure you get this a lot, Patricia. But I actually did get into As Told by Ginger thanks to you, because I was like, oh, it must be interesting then. So I saw some of the episodes were on YouTube, so I started to rewatch, and you're pretty much the reason why I'm into As Told by Ginger, Patricia. So I'm sure you get that a lot. But thanks for that.
Yeah, same here.
Same here.
I'm really touched by that, guys. I really do appreciate it. It's funny because when I first did As Told by Ginger Month, I just thought that, oh, nobody's going to watch this. It's just, I feel like I was the only one who liked it and whatever. So then when I did my top 15 As Told by Ginger's episodes list, then I saw people saying like, oh, I love this show, stuff like that. Then I went doing Where in Between was where I got the comment about like, oh, it's because of you that I got into the show. And I'm like, that's very awesome. I'm really appreciative of that.
And it's so amazing.
Thank you for pointing us to a great show.
And it's so amazing, some of the episodes where I can relate to them. Like, I especially appreciated Goodbye Nana Bishop.
Yeah, Losing Nana Bishop's great, absolutely.
Losing Nana Bishop, yeah.
So, I guess we can... Oh, go ahead.
Because of, how I feel towards death and people dying and that kind of thing, and how it's made me feel, I could really relate, like I said in my comment about with Hoodsie.
Yes, absolutely. All right, well, I guess we can start off with you guys asking one more question, and then we can just wrap things up. So, go ahead, Pocketbook, ask your last question.
Oh gosh, like I said before, I'm going back to my Word document. Oh gosh, which of these questions should I ask? Questions. I mean, I've got a lot of, I'm probably going to ask you some of these on your Q&A live stream when you eventually do that for the 5th anniversary casual chats. Well, let me just pick one. Okay, this is one that I have to know because this is one that kind of speaks about ever since you interviewed Eric Casimiro. So did he see 2008 Preschool Days?
As far as I know, he still hasn't seen it yet.
Well, he was going to YouTube as soon as the podcast was over.
Yeah, I know. You have to understand Eric's really busy, and also when we were interviewing him, it was late at night. He lives in Paris, so that's like a 6 or 7 hour difference. So, I take it that, with him being really busy with his job, I guess he didn't have enough time to watch, Preschool Days series. Last time I spoke to him, who knows? Maybe I'll message him again to see if he's seen it. But as of right now, no.
Well, I can't wait to hear his thoughts, because he's probably going to go like, oh my gosh, they butchered my show so badly! Like, screw whoever made this! That'd be hilarious.
I watched it once on Kiss Cartoon, and
It's so ugly. Unbelievably ugly.
Honestly, if it wasn't the animation, I don't think many people would hate it as much. It's kind of like Angela Anaconda. Like, if the animation wasn't so bad, not many people would hate it.
Yeah, it would just be incredibly generic.
It would be forgettable, and no one would remember it exists.
Exactly.
Even more than they do now.
Yeah.
Angela Anaconda, ugh.
Yeah, I've already talked about that show before.
My name is Angela. Hey, hello. Welcome to my area. That was like, oh, jerk face done. And now for today's show, starting me. And not starting the memoir.
Oh, God. All right. Celeste, you're next. What's your question?
Okay, what's my question? Let's see. So,
oh, sorry, I forgot.
So, let's see.
All right.
Goodness,
Would you like me to skip over until you think of something?
why don't we do that?
All right. Ian, what's your question?
This is going to be a tough one. Choosing the last question. Like, so many things. Well, I guess I would ask, like, I like all of, like, the videos and, like, you ever made, like, what was, like, your favorite thing now looking back on it that you've ever done? Like, what was your favorite thing to look back on? Like,
last year when I did my Old School Lane 5th year anniversary celebration, I did a top 10 list of my favorite podcasts, blog articles, people that I've interviewed, and videos. And my videos have stayed the same. The video that I'm still proud that I made is Why As Told by Ginger was a groundbreaking yet overlooked Nicktoon. I did a lot of work into that. I was going to release it after the Halloween episode, but then when I read the original script, I was like, oh my god, this is so awful. And I just scrapped it, and I had to start over again from scratch. So I took a lot of time, and I just basically just poured my heart and soul into why I love this show and why should people watch it. So, yeah, I would say that's my favorite video.
By the way,
awesome.
I want to sing you the Angela Anaconda theme a while back. My dad called me from upstairs and said, keep it down or I'm going to pull the plug. So I stay quiet.
Nah, don't worry about it. It's okay.
Yeah. And I guess since I was just wondering this, looking back like when you did your first video back in 2012, do you think could you have imagined back in 2012 that you'd be making as much content and doing the things you're doing now?
No, absolutely not. I would have never thought that I'd be doing this much. I thought that, this would be just something I do on the side for fun or something like that. But no, I never thought in a million years that I would be having a lot of people watching my stuff, or I'd be partnered up with Frederator, or I would be having people saying, oh, I'm so excited about, this thing coming up. So no, never thought in a million years that when I did this stuff 5 years ago that I would still be doing this.
Well, you are.
Well, I never thought 10 years ago I'd about to be seeing the Jungle movie right now, so.
Yeah. That's
never say never, am I right?
Lots of things can change.
Yeah, exactly. Anything can change. All right, Jordan, what's your question?
Yes, maybe it's more of a comment, but just saying something to get your thoughts on. I personally, this is just my personal opinion, and I don't want to get heated or anything, but I did a Dan Schneider podcast back on episode 2 of my Nicospective podcast, shameless plug, please go check it out. But I did say that Game Shakers tends to be the most favorite show of Dan's that he has done now. I even consider it to be his magnum opus or his best work since Drake and Josh, mainly because it has Kel in it, and mainly because I'm a game designer myself. I know what the process is about creating games, and after seeing shows like Sam and Cat, Victorious, even Henry Danger, I felt as though Dan had went back into the direction that he started with in the 90s and the early 2000s, the magic that he did with those shows. And in my opinion, I feel as though Game Shakers is that right step. This is more of a comment or question. or just a solicitation of thoughts about what I just said and how you interpret or validate my opinion.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. If you feel that this is his magnum opus, then I have no issues whatsoever. You go do liking what you like. You do you. Like we say, I'm in between.
Patricia
You do
hates
you.
never mind.
I'm sorry. What were you saying?
Never mind. I decided to not say it.
Okay, that's fine. Anyway, as I was saying before, don't worry about it if you feel strong about it. Just like we say on We're in Between, you do you. You like what you like. I have no issues with it whatsoever.
If it's cool to you, who cares what others think, right?
Exactly. There you go. All right. So
yeah, I quoted you in your own podcast.
There you go. That's all we can say. So, Cameron, do you have any questions?
I sort of have like a theoretical question. Like with shows like Invader Zim, Danny Phantom, and Avatar: The Last Airbender, they have like huge, massive like amounts of fans, and for some reason I was never a part of them. Do you think like maybe the reason being is because of like the overhypeness of fandoms that could actually ruin like your interest in wanting to look at a show?
Oh man, okay.
Honestly, yeah.
This has happened a lot recently. In which,
terrible.
Here's the thing.
Trigger warning.
Yeah, man. Okay, so here's the thing. When it comes to fan bases, I'm really careful about particular fan bases. Like, you know, this was like, you have to understand, I grew up before the internet, and so if I liked something and I was going to be telling somebody, I would tell like a friend from school or something. We didn't have like the internet in which we can go online and say like, oh man, this episode was awesome or something like that. So seeing like the fan base about a particular show like overhyping something or saying that this is amazing or whatever, it's like, I don't really tend to follow those things because I like to have my opinions open to if I'm going to like a show or not, and I rarely go into like the fan community of anything. I mean, sure, with Hey Arnold wasn't an exception, but that was like years and years and years after I saw the show, like with the Hey Arnold Save the Jungle movie or whatever. Like with recent fans, I've been seeing a lot of the toxic opinions and how everything is affected, like with Steven Universe or with
Morty.
Rick and Morty, yes. Even though I've never
Adventure Time.
Adventure Time, yes. Even though I have never seen Rick and Morty, I've already seen what the fan base can do to be incredibly toxic.
Especially the Szechuan sauce incident.
And Pickle Rick.
And yeah.
I've seen a few episodes of Rick and Morty, and I do like it. I think Rick and Morty is a good show. It just has a terrible fan base.
Yeah, so I would say that if you are going to be with a fan base of any show, just please be careful on who you hang out with, and just please be careful on what, even with what opinions that you have of it, because any little thing can affect somebody. And so I tend to lean towards like a handful of people that I can trust, that I know that I can be able to say whatever I want and I don't have to worry about it. So
yeah, and go ahead. I was introduced to like shows like Steven Universe like before the fandom exploded. I think it's just like a matter of how like how the fans are not bombarding you with it, and you're just introduced to it at your own time.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's why I stayed a fan of all these shows that now have toxic fan bases, is that I don't get involved in a lot of them because I know a bunch of bad people when put together can do some terrible things, but I just like what I want to like and enjoy the shows regardless of others' opinions.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's all we can do.
My own opinion agrees with the group, but sometimes there are going to be things that I like or love that most people don't talk about, and there are going to be things that I absolutely hate that either people don't talk about or don't hate as much as I do.
Right.
Like no such
sometimes it's just a case of being late to a party or something.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because, you know, I've been late to parties so many times. Like, I got into Phineas and Ferb years later after it aired, and, you know, I still haven't seen BoJack Horseman, so I'm probably going to be late to that party as well. So, yeah, it's just a matter of, you know, if you know a group of people who like the same show and you trust them, then, you know, talk about it in your own time. If you do see, like, a particular person who is showing the steps steps of being like somebody who's going to be really negative. Stay away from them. And just say your thoughts and just be careful. That's all I can say. And just
don't be afraid to share your opinion.
Right. Just
I mean, like, I just recently, like I said before, I got recently introduced with Unreal Monsters, so I might be like 20 years late, but you know what? I like it for what it is.
Sure.
I'm getting it told by Ginger like 17 years after it premiered.
Yeah, ditto.
Yeah, there you go. And these were shows that didn't have online fan bases. So the only way you can be able to know online if they even like the show is to go onto nick.com and their forums. So, yeah, it's nice to know that shows old and new can be able to have dedicated fan bases. So that's great. Nick, what's your question?
Okay, so if you had a choice between keeping only one Nicktoon, would it be As Told by Ginger or Avatar: The Last Airbender?
I mean, they're both in different ways, so I can really pick between them.
Okay, if I had to choose between one or the other, I'd definitely choose Avatar. Avatar's my favorite. I consider
Hell yeah.
I consider it to be almost a nearly flawless masterpiece. If I watch one episode, I cannot stop. I need to watch the whole thing. And, I definitely want to do something with Avatar in the future. I just need to wait for the perfect moment because I could talk about that show forever.
How would you do an Avatar podcast, kind of like We're Between, discussing every single episode?
I'd love to do that.
That would be fun, but I don't know if I'm going to be doing another one of those anytime soon. I think after We're in Between, I'm probably going to take a break from those because I'm way, way, way behind on my videos, and I still get bombarded with comments every day saying, less podcasts, more videos, so...
Well, that's understandable. It's all right. Just do what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, Casey, Ashley, and I will be talking about... what should we do next? Should we do Hey Arnold? Should we do this? Should we do that? So, I don't know. I'm hoping that in the future we do something else, but that'll be a lot of fun if I do something either with Hey Arnold or with Avatar or whatever. That'd be a blast. I would love to do it again. But as for right now, no plans for anything like that. But I want to do a video on Avatar. Maybe just how Avatar was so different than most Nicktoons, or maybe kind of like do a theory about how the failure of Constant Pain jump-started the success of Avatar or something. I don't know.
That'd be interesting. I would love to see Constant Pain, though. I'm still bummed that didn't become a show.
Yeah, I'm still upset that it didn't
either. That sounds like it would have been cool.
But you know what? I mean, I guess you win some, you lose some. I mean, they can't greenlight everything. They got to make sacrifices, and I guess Constant Pain had to be sacrifices. I mean, like how many shows does Nick get pitched in every single year? I mean, they probably get probably goes 100 shows every year, and they can only probably pick one or two to become shows. So I guess they had to just say no to something, and I guess Constant Pain was one of the things they had to say no to.
Unfortunate circumstances aside, yes, a lot of shows get pitched every single year. A lot of movies get pitched, a lot of TV shows get pitched, and some get chosen, most do not. And that's the unfortunate thing. So
I guess it's just luck.
All right.
Unfortunately, I got rejected, for glitch text, so,
I'm so sorry.
Oh, really?
That's really sad. I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault. I just hope it's not another fanboy and Chum Chum.
Well, glitch text is made by the same guy as Fanboy and Chum Chum.
Yeah. That is true.
Actually, he is co-creating with Danny Milano. He's been executive producer on some shows, so hopefully he knows what he's doing, and hopefully Glitch Text will be good.
Yeah.
I mean, Danny, I kind of said earlier in the interview with Danny Micali, who wrote for SpongeBob and Harvey Beaks, he's writing on Glitch Text. So hopefully he'll be a good writer for Glitch Text, and he won't turn the show into another Fanboy and Chum Chum or Breadwinners.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, Celeste, were you able to think of the question?
Yeah, and I'm just curious. I hope I'm not getting I'm sorry if I'm getting too personal here, but you've been doing this stuff for a while. How does your family feel about your content? Are they supportive?
Wow, that's interesting, yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. So here's the thing. My family hasn't listened to all of them, not even most of them, but they're starting to become supportive of what I do. In fact, I'm probably going to announce this much later on, but I decided that I want to go back to school and do broadcasting, and they were okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Oh, good for you.
Is going back to school going to interrupt with your channel at all?
I'll have to see what my schedule looks like, but I'll probably have to do a little bit less time. But luckily, most of the episodes of We're In Between have been uploaded. I already did my podcast up in advance until December, so I'm okay with stuff for the remaining year. But as for next year, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I mean, I do want to take priority in work and school, but as for my content, I still will, in the best that I can, do as much stuff as I can with under the circumstances. But you know, we'll just have to wait and see. But yes, my parents nowadays have become fully supportive of what I do.
Awesome.
That's good.
Well, that's great. That's great.
Interesting question.
Yeah.
What do you want to do, like, in the future, Patricia? I know I didn't ask this before, but that just got me thinking.
Well, I'm hoping that I can work maybe for a radio show, or maybe I can just branch out and hopefully Casual Chats can be able to become its own independent station. We'll just have to wait and see.
Wow.
I had a radio
You can be
show
on my
before.
show if you want to.
There you go.
I had a radio show once.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it aired at 1 a.m. in the morning, so probably no one heard it. Except the people I know from school, because I told them about it.
Well, yeah, but right now, hopefully things will work out in the end. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how that turns out. So yeah, I think that we can pretty much wrap things up. So guys, thank you so much for coming on by. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. It's funny that you only asked,
Well, thank you for inviting us.
you literally only asked 2 questions. Like, how'd you get into Old School Lane, and what are your favorite episodes of Cows Not That We Were Between? And 2 questions over like an hour and a half, and the interview's over. Like, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, I know.
But thanks anyway. I'm glad I could be on too. It was such an honor, and I'm glad I didn't waste $130 on this microphone for nothing.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Well, thank you for having me, since this is actually my first podcast. So, yeah, it's an honor being around, talking to you for this long.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming on by.
Thank you very much. It was.
I was going to ask if you want to plug and promote our stuff, even though we don't really have anything.
I guess if you're interested in plugging and promoting stuff.
I mean,
I have a few things I can promote.
Sure.
If anybody, anyone wants to keep in touch with me, I'm on Twitter, DJ Cellrock, DJ CELOCK. I'm also on Facebook, facebook.com/Celeste.Wheelock, CELESTE.WHEELOCK. If you like Rugrats and you like fan fiction and very creative, outside the box fan fiction, you should check me out on fanfiction.net. My screen name is Cellrock, CELOCK. I've sort of been on a little bit of hiatus, but I hope to be getting back into it pretty soon. Certainly come 2018, if not sooner. And I'm also currently on an internet station called The Q Online at www.theqonline.net. I do an internet radio show. It's on pretty early on Friday mornings. But I'm DJ Cellrock over there. So, if you like that type of thing, you like music, you can check that out as well.
Okay.
Cool. So as for me, so you can follow me on Twitter. My Twitter is at @SNorbertD1, and my Instagram is @SNorbertD. I don't have Facebook or Snapchat because those suck. I've also have a cartoon pile called Crime Connor, which is actually pinned to my Twitter, but that's not likely to go anywhere. I don't think Nickelodeon's going to come in Breadwinner style, going to say, hey, do you want to do this? That's not likely to happen. But I do occasionally post some script episodes, which I think are cool. So again, SNorbertD1 is my Twitter. If you want to check me out, I just post a cartoon and stuff there. I don't really have anything interesting, but I thought I'd say that. Anyone else want to plug and promote their stuff?
I will, yes. I will take a stab at it. Please join my YouTube channel at jhays, simply JHAYES, the space between the J and the H. I have 2 episodes of the Nicospective podcast up, and I'm hoping to do more. Please check them out, especially the latest episode, which I only posted 3 months ago, my Nicospective podcast episode 2, highlighting the career of Dan Schneider, the king of Nickelodeon live action comedy shows. And then of course I'm on Facebook at Jordan.Hayes89. I don't use Twitter that much, but I'm on it. Jordan HSYR 99.
Yeah. As for me, I'm on Twitter and on Facebook at Nick Nagel, NICNEGEL. You'll find me somewhere.
All right.
It was a delight to talk to you, Patricia. I'm so glad I got the opportunity to talk to one of my favorite people I'm subscribed to on YouTube right now.
Fantastic. Well, I'm really glad that you guys were able to come on by. So
and thank you for having me. It was such an honor.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And thanks for having us, Patricia.
Yeah.
And before we go, I'll just do my little exit thing too. Sorry, I just kind of done it before. Anyway, name's Ian Coyne. You can find me, I guess, on 2 places. One, Ian Coyne, that's spelled IANCOYNE on Facebook.com. And on fanfiction.net as Egalitarian Helper. And I'm also on Tumblr, but I don't post anything on there, so.
Also,
go ahead.
Alright, I just wanted to say thanks, Patricia. Thanks for bringing us all together. Thanks for making good content.
I'm glad that I can talk to all of you too. I'm glad I talked to all you too. Celeste, I talked to you on Twitter.
And Celeste, I feel really inspired that you're able to do all that you do.
And everyone like Cameron and Celeste, I've seen you on the comments, but I've never actually I didn't actually know what you sound like till now. It's so glad that we actually got to talk to each other, and we have Patricia. Thanks for that. So thank you, Patricia.
Yeah. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
All right. So
round of applause for you.
Here's to another 5 years.
This is the longest outro ever. This is such a long outro. Let's end it right now.
Again in 5 years to talk about the 10th anniversary.
Yes.
This is such a long outro. How would we just end it right now? Bye.
All right, hold on.
I can see it now. Still casuals chatting after all these years, our 10-year anniversary.
Yep.
Yes. All right, so thank you so much for listening, everybody. Let us know in the comments below about what was your first episode of Casual Chats you listened to, what are your favorites, and what has the podcast been meaning to you as a whole. So, yeah, that's it, everybody. Hope to see you around soon, and thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary. Pour a cheerful toast and fill it, happy anniversary. But be careful you don't spill it, happy anniversary. Oh, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy